All right. Shalom, shalom, Israel. Can everybody hear me all right? So we got a couple few folks in here already. If y'all can hear me all right, let me know. Let me get a one. If y'all can hear me all right, and if you cannot, just give me a two. Well, I guess you wouldn't be able to hear that, but you get my point. Lock it. Okay, I got a one. The one. All right. We're the Israelite School and Universal Practical Knowledge. Started out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. We are not affiliated with any other Israelite or Israelite group or Christian organization. Since 1969, we have been teaching the truth of the Bible that so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians are God's chosen people and that we are the ethnic Jews of the Bible. All right. The water. I thought Trooper Kazaki was trying to be funny. Trooper Kazaki, Salaki, gave me a two when I asked if y'all hear me. Salaki. The water. I want to say shalom, Yahweh Shem Shabbat Thumb to the brothers. Shalom, Yahweh Shema Thumb by Shem Shah to the sisters. All right. Let's see who is in the building. Obviously, Trooper Kazakia is in the building. Good to see you, brother. Good to see you. Shalom. All right. Let's see. Also got Salakia, Officer Yagadar. Shalom, brother. Officer Kushah is also in the building. Shalom. And we got my Rev, Sister Raya is also in the building. All right, all right. Let's see. Don't sweat. Don't sweat. I understand. You have me thinking you was clowning me because I said if you can't hear me, give me a two. Obviously, nobody would have been able to hear that. But it's all good. No sweat. So, wow. All right. So y'all can see by the title, we're gonna get into some of the oppressor's playbook, some a particular uh, strategy that he has used historically, and we're going to see that he's been using it even very, very recently. And it's something that I don't know if brothers are really aware of. I had never heard of the term. Um, you get it absolutely right. Laki, I had never heard of the term excited delirium. I don't know if anybody else is familiar with that term. I was not familiar with it until today. If anybody else is familiar with it, just give me a one in the chat, and if not, give me a two. Let me know if that's something that you have had heard about or heard of before. Excited delirium. This is another strategy of our oppressor, and we're going to get into it. Um, Again, this is the history class. We know it's very, very important to know our history, not only the history of the Bible and the truth of the Bible, but also our history, since the Bible. All right, all right. Okay, no sweat. Triple Kazaki said he has not heard of it. No sweat. We're gonna get into it. Um, yeah, but not just our history in the Bible, but our history, since the Bible, since Revelation. All right, our history in this country, um, in this part of the world, since the transatlantic slave trade, is very, very important. We talked about it last week. Oftentimes, our people want to get away and shy away from our history for various reasons. Y'all can put them in the chat. Put them in the chat. What's some reasons that you all have heard that our people want to shy away and not be well versed on our history? Um, there's a cliche that those who don't know their history are doomed to repeat it. And oftentimes there's a lot of truth in cliches. There's a lot of truth in that slogan, in that motto, or what have you. There's a lot of truth in that statement that if you are not aware of your history, you will be doomed to repeat it. Um, we talked last week about how part of the big reason that we, as Israelites, as the 12 tribes of Israel, need to be aware of our history is so that we can understand what we need to do to get the Most High back on our side. Because clearly, if you look at our state as a whole, we are in oppression. We are completely oppressed. We are downtrodden. Our communities are destroyed. We have crime running through our communities. We have drug addiction, drug selling is something that's huge in our communities. Now, again, the reason why it's important to know history for something like that, if you are a so-called Black, Hispanic, or Native American in this country and you don't know your history, then you'll look at our communities, especially if you're in a position where you're not, where you're in a better space in life, where you're in maybe a better neighborhood, when you're in a situation where you don't have a whole lot of crime in your area. If you are an individual who doesn't understand what the history is, then you'll look at our communities, particularly with something like drug dealing and drug addiction, and you will say that is completely the fault of those who are in those communities. And um, that's an absolute mischaracterization of the situation. The reality is this: do we have a certain responsibility? Yes, we absolutely do. And ISUPK never compromises on that. We have a certain responsibility for our condition. And that reality is that our conditions are what they are because we don't follow the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. You can easily find that in the 28th chapter of Deuteronomy, all through, I believe it's 15 or 16 and down. Those are all of the curses that our people, again, are in as a whole. Not every single one of us, because there are certain brothers, we all know there are certain sisters who are in a decent space in their life. They don't feel like they are directly oppressed, and that's fine. But the reality is, our people as a whole are completely oppressed. Our people as a whole are destroyed. And again, if you don't know your history, if you don't know the truth of how um, the drugs get into the predominantly Black neighborhoods, then you will say, well, that's just all their fault. And some of our people are so they lack compassion so much, they'll say, even being fully aware that drugs were pumped into our communities, they will say things like, yeah, but they still had a choice. And while that's true, it completely alleviates the responsibility and the accountability of the oppressor, of the one. Lock it. 1 second. All right, so it completely alleviates the accountability and the responsibility of this oppressor. It allows this oppressor to do anything and everything to destroy our people with absolutely no recourse. Even our people at that point look at it and say it's still our fault. True, because like I said, most of our people enjoy being in this wicked kingdom, so they ignore our history. You're absolutely right. That's a wonderful point. Get that brother a hand. Most of our people, especially when they know a snippet of history, as all of our people know, we know slavery. We know slavery. We might know Jim Crow. But what our people then know is, well, we don't have to deal with that anymore, so it's not that bad, so I'm okay, and I don't need to focus on the rest of that stuff anymore. I don't need to think about that anymore. Sister Nine in the building. Shalom, Yahweh Shemala, Thumba, Shem Yahshua says. But Trooper Kazaki is absolutely right. Our people get it completely twisted and thinking that they're in such a good space. And again, it's when you're in a good space. You don't want to hear about that. You don't want to hear about any history of oppression. That's old stuff. That doesn't affect me now. That's what our people say. We're gonna get into some stuff tonight that affects our people today. All right. But this is what we do. We try to disconnect from it. It's too painful. We don't want to think about it. We just want to be happy. We just want to be happy. We just want to have, rainbows and roses all the time, and everything is wonderful. And so don't talk to me about no history stuff because I'm an individual person and that stuff doesn't affect me. I wasn't there, right? I wasn't there. Nobody that I know and love today is affected by that. Completely wrong statements. They're completely misguided, and it can lead you to a lack of compassion for your people, particularly given our oppression in this kingdom. All right. So, got a few more people in here in class tonight now. I'm going to ask this question again. I asked it earlier. Who is familiar with the term excited delirium? Okay, I believe Sister Aya said two. She is not familiar with it. All right, no sweat. You are familiar with it. Give me a one. If not, give me a two. Who is familiar with excited delirium? All right, got a few more twos. Okay, bear with me, y'all. There it is. Let me make sure I got the date. All right. Okay, so we got all twos. We are all on the same page. I was not familiar with this term either until earlier today. All right. Earlier today, I'm going through and I'm just looking through different news stories and things of that nature, and this term came up. So we are gonna see. I look like I'm pausing or something like that. Is this coming through all right? Let me make sure I'm coming through okay. Everybody, if I can get a one, if the feed is okay, if not, give me a two. It's looking a little strange on my end. Y'all let me know. Y'all let me know. All right. If it's looking okay and we rocking and rolling, give me a one. If not, just give me a two. All right, we're doing all right. Okay, good stuff. The water. All right, so I'm gonna ask you a different question now. Who's familiar with Drake the Mania? Who's familiar with that term? And if you're familiar with it, can you give me a quick synopsis, a quick, you know, quick sentence about what your understanding of that term is? Drake the Mania. Okay, no sweat. Triple Jackie said he's not familiar with it. No sweat. We're gonna get into it. I'll see. I can pass that count. Only crazy people would run away from slavery. He is absolutely right. He is absolutely right. All right. So if you are not familiar, drapetomania is or was a somewhat diagnosed medical condition, right? Back in the 1850s. And essentially, and we're going to get into an article in a second that describes it, but essentially, it said, these 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 slaves have this tendency, this strange tendency to want to run away. It's so weird. We have to give it a condition. It's called drapetomania. What happens when you have this unrelenting desire to get out of bondage? I don't know what kind of craziness these people must be that when you're in bondage, you just can't help yourself and you have to run away and try to free yourself. This is crazy. This is what this oppressor again. This is straight out of the oppressor's playbook. Now, now, why would there be a need to have this type of diagnosis? You already have a people enslaved. You already have them. They're at your absolute mercy, literally. Um, they're doing all of the work you can possibly get out of them. You're squeezing every ounce of effort out of them, and if not, then there are going to be hellacious consequences. Why would there be a need to come up with this condition for to describe the desire to run away? Who can give me some perspective on that? Why? Who can just take a guess? Why might it be a need? Who can come up with who can give me some perspective on that? So I got you, True Kazaki. So you said okay, I hate being in bondage. That's why we clearly that's why we was running. Absolutely. I'm asking more about why would an oppressive excuse me, why would the enslaver need to be need have a need to diagnose the slaves with a condition described as something that they just can't help themselves from running away. Maybe I'm not asking this right. Maybe I'm not being clear. Um, let's see. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard for us to do. I'm gonna phrase it this way, maybe like this. Put yourself in the position of the oppressor. All right. You have a people. You have all these slaves on your land. They're doing all the work you want them to do. When they probably not enough because you're an oppressor. So it's hard for us to get this mentality right. I get it. But let me see. Okay. All right. Sure, because like I said, that might be the need to feel like they're in control of you. Okay, okay, all right. I see where you're going. So what I would say to that is, well, they're clearly in control, right? And again, you know what? I'm gonna put it on me. I'm not gonna put this on y'all. Let's say I'm an oppressor. I got all these slaves, right? They keep running away. I'm punishing them. I'm doing everything I want to do because I'm a wicked devil. All right. So even with that, they just keep running away. So now I have to come up, or I not have to, but I come up with this medical condition. Now I've diagnosed anybody who runs away. Now there's a medical, there's a mental condition, there's something. Now I'm not gonna label them with if they run away. Why is that necessary to do? I already got them in bondage. I'm dealing with them trying to run away, sure. But think about it, and it's hard. It's probably gonna be hard for us to get this because we don't think like this. This is some diabolical mess right here. Who else wants to give it a shot? Who else wants to give it a shot? There's a thought pattern. There's a reasoning behind it that somebody would have a disposition that they need to uh, label an enslaved person for trying to free themselves. All right, for the sake of time, I'm gonna give it to y'all. So Zachary, wait a minute. Let's see. Says none of their Officer Yagdar says none of their torture was a deterrent to keep us from running. The beatings unalivings, etc., wouldn't break us. True. That's true. That's true. All right, so I'm gonna give it to y'all. I'm gonna give it to y'all because you're right. You're knocking on the door. You're knocking on the door. I'm gonna give it to y'all though. So Zechariah 11:5 says, "Whose oppressors slay them and hold themselves not guilty." In order for you, because to Officer Yagadar's point, they were already doing all this. They were already punishing, beating, unaliving, torturing. All of that was happening, right? But now I need to make this a condition so that guess what? It's not even my fault. It's not even on me. I have to do this because they have a problem. I have to do this. It's not that I want to keep them in slavery. It's that they just, damn it, can't help but running away. Now think about how twisted that is. It's not because of me. It's because of you. You have an illness, and I need to get that out of you. I need to help you out. It's not. I'm not even doing anything wrong. I'm really trying to help you. I'm trying to help you. You keep running away because you got this mental condition, and I'm listen. I'm trying to help you. You know how listen. You know how you used to grow up and that saying right before that belt came in. Somebody might mother father might be, I guess, it's gonna hurt me more than hurt you. That's the argument. That's not for me. I don't even want to do this. I have to help you out. So now I gotta go. I gotta put you on this post. You gotta get these lashes because I'm trying to help you. And guess what? This is gonna help you and everyone else around who might get this disorder. This is preventative maintenance, not just for you, but for everyone else. That's why you have to diagnose the people with a thing when you are oppressing them. It alleviates you from any responsibility. And it allows you, as Zechariah 11:5 says, to hold yourself not guilty. Sister Nas, absolutely right. That's completely diabolical. It's completely diabolical, but it's absolutely true. All right. So we're going to get into some the history right now of drapetomania. We're going to get into another condition that was back then that I don't think it gets a lot of attention. And then we're going to get into something more current. All right. All right. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. All right. Okay, here we go. It says an 1851 scientist discovered, they're terrible for discoveries, boy. We talked last week about Columbus. They are terrible for discoveries. Discovered a disease that caused slaves to run away. This was the prescribed cure. All right. Says, did you know in 1850s a Louisiana scientist claimed to have found a disease called drapetomania, which made slaves run from their masters. It sounds crazy, and I hate saying that word, masters, slave owners. Anyway, it sounds crazy, but it's true. In 1851, Dr. Samuel A. Cartwright published a paper entitled "Report on the Diseases and Physical Peculiarities of the Negro Race." The New Orleans Medical and Surgical Journal, a reputable scholarly publication that claimed that blacks ran away from their enslavers because of the disease. Now, this is straight out of the oppressor's playbook because what they do is use so-called respected uh, um, respected journals, respected entities. This is a medical. It says the New Orleans Medical and Surgical Journal. That sounds like it's worth something. Somebody picks that up in 1850. some oppressor who maybe they don't directly own any slaves, but you know they definitely benefit from it. We've talked about that before too. But they may not, directly own any slaves. They may read this and be like, well, again, this is a disorder that these people have. This isn't even their fault. This is not even their fault. All right. Put it back up. Says Dr. Cartwright claimed to have discovered a new disease peculiar to blacks that he believed justified enslavement as a therapeutic necessity for the slaves and as a medical and moral responsibility for the white slave owners. I'm gonna repeat that. He believed it had justified enslavement as a therapeutic necessity for the slaves and as a medical and moral responsibility for their white slave owners. Now, who does that sound like? That's not even that far gone. I mean, not even that far gone. We have something very recent talking about how slavery benefited black people. Who was it? Ron DeSantis, I think, out of Florida. He said slavery benefited black people. Then you have this cat in 1850 saying the same thing. Saying the same thing. It justified enslavement as a therapeutic necessity. It was necessary for us, according to them. And it was their responsibility to keep us from freedom. My sister Na said, this is diabolical, but this is their playbook. This is absolutely their playbook. This is the quote. It says, a runaway slave is mania, mad, or crazy. It is unknown to our medical authorities. Now, listen, this is just keep this in mind. All right. He says in 1850, it's unknown to our medical authorities. So this is nothing medical. And while it's put in a medical book, in a journal, this has nothing to do with any medical diagnosis or anything of the sort. Sister Aya, excuses for their evil. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why they needed to do this. It excuses their actions. Triple Kazaki said, I've even heard a Christian pastor said, I can't think of his name right now on top of my head, but he said it. They said, oh, gotcha, that it benefited. Right. Right. Absolutely. I think I heard it too. I can't remember his name either. But this is their thought pattern, right? But again, unknown to medical authorities. This is not something that he's even claiming has any type of medical. He knows it has no medical basis, but as he goes on, although its diagnostic symptoms be absconding from service, absconding means you don't want to do it, right? Meaning you're lazy. Is well known to our planners and overseers. It's well known to the slave owners that the enslaved don't want to be slaves. And that's a symptom that the medical industry don't know about. I don't know how you walk down this twisted mindset other than, as Sister Anat said, diabolical. I'm going to repeat her all night long because she is absolutely right. And even Sister I, these are excuses for their evil. You have to be this diabolical to come up with excuses to be this wicked. All right? It says, in noticing a disease that therefore is heretofore classed among the long list of maladies that man is subject to, it was necessary to have a new term to express it. Meaning, this is so messed up. This is such an issue. It was necessary to put a term on it. It's not that they just want to be free. It's not that we're working in the deaf. It's not that we are so greedy that we will have them in conditions and so wicked and evil that we will have them in conditions that no human being should be in. It's not that. It's that they have a disorder and it's so bad we got to put a label on it. Says the cause in most cases that induces the Negro to run away from service is as much a disease of the mind as any other species of mental alienation, and much more curable as a general rule. They are. This is a issue for them. It's a mental issue that they have, but it's curable. That's his tone. That's his idea. This is curable, but it's a condition that they're in. I'm telling you, we're trying to help them. We're trying to help them. Sick. To further prove the point, Cartwright pointed out that the Bible calls for the slave to be submissive to his master, and by doing so, a healthy slave will have no desire to run away. Now, we all know, and if you don't, if you are watching this class and you haven't been in class long, this is what's wrong with Christianity. This is why Christianity plagues our people. Because even as far back as the 1850s, they were distorting the Bible. They were presenting slaves with Bibles that had verses taken out of them in order to tamp down any spark of wanting to be free. And by the same token, diagnosing the desire to be free as a mental condition. These are the same wicked oppressors that went to all-out war because they were being taxed too much over some tea. They went to all-out war because we don't want to pay the queen. We don't want to pay the king these taxes. We all learned it in school. What was it? No taxation without representation. They went to all-out war for that. But the fact that we don't want to be abused, beaten, torn down, beat down, separated from our families. We want freedom from that. Oh, you have a condition. Something's wrong with you. I need to help you out. I need to cure you of that. Rocky. This is another quote. It says, if the white man attempts to oppose the deity's will, all right, now you got to hear this because this is real wordy. If the white man attempts to oppose the deity's will by trying to make the Negro anything less than the submissive knee bender, which the Almighty declared he should be, this is Christianity. This is Christianity. The idea that our Most High Power wants us to be in a submissive knee-bending position. This is how they twist the scriptures. This is how they fool our people every single week in the Christian church. This is the spirit of Christianity. Because by trying to raise him to a level with himself, meaning if you as an oppressor try to raise the slave to a level even with yourself, you are going against God's will. Or by putting himself in an equally on an equality with the Negro, or if he abuses the power which God has given him over his fellow man. Now he ain't even talking about us no more. You know, went to, yeah, you got to treat each other right too. By being cruel to him or punishing him in anger, or by neglecting to protect him from wanton abuse, so on and so forth. If you don't do all this, then the Negro will run away. But if he keeps him in the position that we learn from the scriptures, he was intended to occupy. Now he's talking about us. That is the position of submission. And if his master or overseer be kind and gracious in his hearing towards him without condescension, I believe is how you pronounce it. And at the same time ministers to his physical wants and protects him from abuses, the Negro is spellbound and cannot run away. So this is the setup. If I determine as the slave owner that I am treating you right and I'm giving you enough food and I'm giving you enough rest and I speak halfway kind to you, if I determine that I've done all of this and you're still not happy and you want to run away, damn, you got to drink to me. Because clearly I'm doing everything I should. Clearly I'm doing everything I should to make sure that he is spellbound and can't run away. Of course I'm doing that. Why? Because that benefits me. So if he still wants to run away, then clearly it's not that. He must have a mental condition. This is the twisted logic that then feeds into our people because we're going to the Christian church. It says, according to Cartwright, the malady was a result of slave owners who made themselves too familiar with slaves, treating them as equals. The reason why nobody wants to stay on your plantation is because you're treating them too nice. You're treating them too nice. Sure, you got to treat them, with a certain level, right? As low as you can get it. You up here with yours. That's why everybody running away. You're giving them this disorder because you don't have them in the proper spot that Christianity says they should be in. Keep going. Uh-oh. There we go. Says if treated kindly, well fed and clothed, with fuel enough to keep a small fire burning all night, separated into families, each family having his own house, not permitted to run about at night or visit their neighbors, to receive visits or use intoxicating liquors, so on and so forth. He goes on, but basically his whole point is if you do all these wonderful things, then you should have no problem. You should have no problem. Where is it? Says if any one or more of them at any time are inclined to raise their heads to a level with their slave owners or overseers, humanity and their own good requires that they should be punished until they fall into the submissive state which was intended for them to occupy. If you ever get a inkling that you want your freedom, then you should be punished until they fall into that submissive state which was intended for them to occupy. They have only to be kept in that state and treated like children to prevent and cure them from running away. Again, this is for the benefit of the slave. I have to keep you in that state. I have to punish you until you understand your place. And this is for your own good. This is 1850. Since Cartwright proposed that there was in fact a cure for this runaway slave disease. With the advantages of proper medical advice strictly followed, the troublesome practice that many Negroes have of running away can be almost entirely prevented, although the slaves are located on the borders of free states within stone's throw of abolition. Meaning, even if they just have to cross the state border, it can be cured. It can absolutely be cured. Well, let's see how. So then the cure was an even worse idea to lock it. And the cure was even worse than the idea that there was an actual disease that caused human beings to run away from oppressive and violent situations. Cartwright stated if a master started to see that a slave was sulking or dissatisfied without cause, who determines whether there's a cause? You got me enslaved. You probably just sold off half my family. But I'm not supposed to be sulky. I'm not supposed listen. Ecclesiastes 7:7. Lucky. Ecclesiastes 7:7 says, surely, Lucky, let me jump this real quick. Ecclesiastes 7:7 says, surely oppression maketh the wise man mad. Surely oppression make if I'm in this situation, surely I'm gonna run away. Surely I'm gonna be upset. Surely I'm gonna be, what was it? Sulky and dissatisfied. I'm under complete oppression and in captivity. The Bible says, surely oppression maketh the wise man mad. I'm not gonna be happy with that. And because this oppressor has absolutely no compassion, this is what comes out. This is what comes out. I gave you some food, I gave you some clothes, I gave you some fire. I may have kept your family together, maybe. But you can't come and go as you choose, but you should be happy with where you are. You should be happy with what you have, even as an enslaved person, even under complete oppression, even under or in complete captivity. You should be happy. You should be happy. Because if not, then you have a disorder. But even everything he led up before that, let's keep going in the scriptures. It said, and a gift destroyeth the heart. In the oppressor's mind, the bare minimum, the bare minimum for your survival is a gift. That should destroy your heart. So you shouldn't even want to have no kind of freedom. What are you talking about? What do you mean you want to run away? After these wonderful gifts that I gave you, I allowed you to eat today, and you have the audacity to be sulking and not satisfied. Let's keep going to see the rest of his cure. It says his prescription to stop the disease from fully taking over, from fully taking over the slave was, as he writes in his own words, whipping the devil out of them as a preventative measure. And as a remedy for this disease, the doctor made running a physical impossibility by prescribing the removal of both big toes. This is all to help, according to the oppressor. I'm trying to cure you. And by doing it this way and describing this type of disorder that you have, guess what? I don't have any guilt. I don't have any accountability here. I'm trying to help you out. I'm trying to help you get rid of this disorder that you have. Because clearly you should be in these conditions happy. You are subservient, which according to Christianity is where you're supposed to be. And I give you a little bit. I give you just enough to survive and go out there and tend to my fields the way I require you to. And for that, you should be happy. And since you're not, I need to whip the devil out of you or cut off your toes to help you. Officer Yagadar says, ungrateful, lazy, dumb, taught me everything. Salaki taught them everything. Did all the work and wanted to be free, aka white man world versus black man world. John 3:16. Exactly. 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 This is the dis I can't call it disinformation, but this is the propaganda. This is their playbook. This is their playbook. Because not only does it make them feel better, help me out. What else does it do? Who can guess what else this type of mentality, this type of approach, what else does it do? I don't have to hold myself guilty for nothing. But what else does it do? This is in a medical journal, gets published. What else does it do? Who wants to give it a shot? It does something else. It helps me in another way. Mm. Makes us feel guilty, makes us blame each other. All right, that's true. Another thing it does is puts absolute fear in everyone else's heart. Put absolute fear in everyone else's heart. Especially when you talk about preventative measures, you can't have a bad day. You can't have a bad day. It can't be too hot. You can't be up too early. You can't work too late. You can't still be hungry. There's a whole lot you can listen. If I get the inkling that you are unhappy, given these wonderful conditions I gave you, I'm gonna have to cut off your toes. I might have to put you, to a post until the cat got your tongue. I'm listen. You're walking around here like you're not happy. That's what listen. I don't know what kind of twisted, wicked monster you got to be to have this type of mentality. But this is the oppressor that we deal with. And again, our people say, "Well, that's old." I'm gonna help y'all. As officer, I mean, Slocky, as Captain Nazak and Shah said, I'm trying to get you the answer. We gonna get the answer in a minute. But then give Officer Yagadar a hand because that's a great point. There's something else though. What does it do for me in the eyes of my peers, in the eyes of other oppressors? What is having this type of diagnosis and discovering this disease and this disorder? What does it do in the eyes of the other oppressors? Not just the discovery of it, but the fact that it exists. The fact that we collectively say, yeah, this is a thing. Who wants to give it a shot? Who wants to give it a shot? What else does it do? Give us something similar to Stockholm syndrome. Um, God, yeah, I figured what you meant. No sweat. Um, yeah, that's true. That's true. That's absolutely true. It can force you into a Stockholm syndrome. It can force you because again, you got to be happy. You got to make sure you're not showing any signs of discomfort. So now anything you can trick yourself to anything that you get, any halfway nice thing. You are still in absolute captivity and oppression, but he ain't make us get up, at 4 o'clock. He allowed us to get up at 4:30. Well, hot damn, I'm happy. This is a great damn day. That's an absolutely good point. Give Trooper Kazaki a hand. The other one I was thinking is, you know what? As the slave owner, you can have peers that don't even, especially if you have people that don't own slaves. They obviously they benefit, but if you are around people that don't own slaves and you might think that, man, y'all judging me because of how I got it. I'm so cruel to these people. Maybe you judging me, but you shouldn't judge me. You shouldn't judge me. I'm only doing this for their benefit. Now you can convince other oppressors that this is not my fault. This is not something I want to have to do. I don't even want to do it. But damn it, they just won't stay enslaved. They keep running away. They got this thing. And you don't know, because you don't own slaves. This is how you don't own slaves. You don't understand like I understand. That's why he said earlier, the medical community doesn't know about this. The only people who know about this disorder are those who own plantations and the overseers. So y'all got to understand, this ain't us. It's them. And y'all are so blind, y'all don't even see it. Twisted monster. Twisted monster. All right. Let me see. There's another one. Is this one worth reading? Because he had another one. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce this disorder because he had two. Because one wasn't enough. He had another one. Let me see if I can share this. He had two. Let me see who can guess this answer, right? So the first one was about slaves who just couldn't stop running away. All right. There was a second disorder though. If the first disorder, it was called, let me see. The second disorder was called, I think it's called habitude of the mind. Who has anybody ever heard of that? I have never heard of that one. Give me a one if you've heard of that. Give me a two if you haven't. And who can guess that the first one was about the slaves who wanted to keep running away? Who is this other disorder about? Let me see if y'all can guess it. Because there's another group of black folks that this other disorder was talking about. Habitude of the mind. All right. I want you y'all about to say la ah. Sister I said la ah. Okay. Let's see where I can get this real quick. All right, let me see if I can just pull this back up. Okay, Sister Not said no, she hasn't heard of it. No sweat. Ah, we cancel that right quick. Give my river eye a hand. Good job. That's exactly what it's about. He had two conditions. The first one was about enslaved black people, and the second was about free black people. Give that sister a hand. All right. Chubakazaki said he has not heard of it. No sweat. All right. Pull it back up. All right. I know y'all can't see this, but it says from careless movements of individuals affected with the complaint, meaning the disorder. All right. They are apt to do much mischief, which appears as if intentional, but mostly owing to the stupidness of the mind and insensibility of the nerves induced by the disease. Thus, they break, waste, and destroy everything they handle. They abuse horses and cattle, tear, burn, or rend their own clothing, and pay no attention to the rights of property. They steal from others to replace what they have been destroyed. They wander about at night and keep a half nodding sleep during the day. They slight their work. They cut up corn, cane, cotton, or tobacco and hoeing it. They just messing that all up when it's time to hoe it, right? As is for pure mischief. They just doing it to be mischievous. That's just this is a disorder. They just out here messing up everything. They raise disturbances with their overseers and fellow servants without cause or motive, and seem to be insensible to pain when subjected to punishment. This is a recurring theme, and we're going to see it a little bit more later. But we all let me stop this right quick. Let me ask a question. Has anybody not heard of the there's several different stereotypes, if you want to call it that this oppressor always puts on our people. Let's see. My Reverend I said all black people gotta have an issue to justify their evil, slaves or free. They all messed up in the oppressor's mind. All black people got to have an issue to justify their evil, right? Slaves or free, they all messed up in their precious mind. Absolutely right. Get that sister a hand. Give her a hand. But there's several stereotypes that this oppressor pushes. And again, I like to make it clear when we say black people, we're talking about so-called blacks, Latinos, um, Native Americans. We are all the same people. We are all the same family. We are the 12 tribes of Israel, and that's who we are talking about collectively, even when we say black. All right. Um, okay. Obviously, Yakadar hinted on them earlier, but Sister Aya is saying it too. Lazy, dumb criminals. That's true. That's almost wrapped up in one. But what they typically do, they think our children, especially our young men, are a lot older than they are. You have a brother out here, he might be 12, 13, 14 years old. And in the oppressor's mind, he's 25 all day. He's a 25-year-old criminal and means them absolute harm and destruction. That's how you have Tamir Rice, a young brother. I think that brother was 12 years old, playing in the park with a toy firearm by himself. Officer rolls up and within, I think it's less than 3 seconds, hops out, unalives him. He's playing in a park at 12 years old by himself. But this oppressor thought that was danger. This is danger. And that's what they, again, being older, being stronger, and having a high tolerance for pain. Our sisters, and I may do a class on this too, our sisters were the, I don't mean this in a derogatory way, it's lucky, but our sisters were the guinea pigs for the female reproductive medical industry. Our sisters were absolutely tortured so that now these practices can save people's lives. But our sisters went through absolute hell, no anesthesia, nothing. In this oppressor's pursuit of science. And I've heard our women say, again, when we go back to having this disconnect with history, I've heard our women say, our sisters say, or not all of them obviously, but I've heard sisters say like, well, I mean, what's the purpose of focusing on that? It saves a whole lot of lives now. As if it justifies all the torture and abuse that our sisters were subjected to. Because now there's a medical industry and some procedures that might save your life. And now it's okay that your ancestors were absolutely tortured, treated like complete lab rats? The disconnect from not having a concern about our history is something that is isolated within Israel. We have a problem as the 12 tribes, particularly Judites. I'm not sure about the other 12, but I know we have issues with it. We have complete issues with history. We don't want to know it. We want to disconnect from it. We don't want to learn from it. We want everything to be okay. And not knowing that that approach sets us up for future oppression, to stay in this oppression. Having a connection with it and knowing what it is so that you can disconnect from it, not disconnect, but you can learn from it. Learning in the Bible your true history so then you can understand why we're in why we're in these conditions. Not doing that keeps us in oppression. Obviously, Yagadar said, I've heard ex stands. I'm not sure what you mean there. Say that they were thankful for slavery because it's better than being in Africa with lions and tigers. Listen, I've heard that nonsense too. I think you're talking about even our people. I've heard that too. I've heard that too. And that's when people start saying ignorant stuff like, well, why don't you go back? Go back to Africa. I ain't African. That's why I ain't going back to Africa. I'm not African. But again, this idea that you'd rather be in, well, you know what? Part of that is we're so destroyed and we don't know our history. We don't know our history, so we don't know that we have rules and laws and a culture. Oh, I got you, Salaki. I don't know what you mean, Salaki, Christian. I've heard, well, they are Christians if they're not UPK. You're right. So, but not knowing your history, not knowing your heritage, your culture, not knowing that there are laws that we're supposed to be following so that we deal with each other in an upright and moral manner. When you don't know that, then yeah, this is better than, I guess it's better than me in Africa. Because you don't know nobody over there either. It's just one captivity to another. And what you're thinking is, well, I'd rather be essentially what you're saying, what they're saying is I'd rather be in captivity here than captivity with the lions and tigers. It's still captivity. But we don't know it, so that's why we had that mentality. We don't understand it. We don't know that we're supposed to be a people set apart. Zephaniah 2:1. Gather yourself together, O nation not desired. We don't know that. We think we're going to be in captivity no matter where we are. We don't understand that when Christ comes back, all this is changing. All this is changing. When Christ comes back, we are going to be in authority. Our people are so downtrodden, we can't imagine that state. We can't imagine being in that situation. And Christianity has not helped. Because Christianity tells our people that heaven is not going to be here. It's going to be, someplace in the sky when you no longer live it. Christianity doesn't teach our people that heaven is going to be here. The kingdom of heaven is going to be here. And those that follow Christ and stick to the Most High's law, statutes, and commandments and get back in line with the Most High, specifically get in the ISUPK under Commanding General Yohana, who is the man that the Most High put in charge right now. When Christ comes back, guess what? Everything's going to change. And if you're not in the body, then it's not going to work out well for you. It's not going to work out well for you. I'm trying to tell you. But you can't understand it because of Christianity makes you feel like you gotta wait. That's not the Bible. That's not what the Bible teaches. All right, let me get back to this lunatic. All right. Subject to much pain. Salaki. Insensible to pain was subjected to punishment. All right. Then we skip down a little bit. It says that it should have escaped the attention of the medical profession can only be accounted for, can only be accounted for because its attention has not been sufficiently directed to the maladies of the Negro race. He's just saying the only reason the medical industry doesn't know is because they ain't paying attention. They ain't paying attention to the disposition of black folks. Y'all not paying attention. That's the only reason you don't see it. But they go on, or he goes on. It says the northern physicians and people have noticed the symptoms, supposedly, but not the disease from which they spring. They ignorantly attribute the symptoms to the debasing influence of slavery on the mind without considering that those who have never been in slavery or their fathers before them are the most afflicted. And the latest from the slaveholding South to the least. Am I reading that right? Slaveholding South to the least. Thank God. The disease is the natural offspring of Negro liberty. This disease is caused by freedom. It's the natural offspring of Negro liberty. The liberty to be idle, to wallow in filth, and to indulge in improper food and drink. So the first one, now this is his second diagnosis, same guy, same cat. First diagnosis was, oh, they keep them trying to run away and they're being treated so nice. So now we have to put some things in place to make sure that we got to, do some preventative measures, make sure they don't come down with this Drake the Maiden. Oh, and the ones that are already free may have, they may have never been enslaved. No, at least not them and their fathers, right? Hey, they running rampant. And it's because of their free. The reason why they're lazy and destroy everything and so on and so is because they're free. They are not in their natural state according to my Christian God. That's his whole spill. That's his whole spill. And all of this is because they are diabolical. They are diabolical in an effort to justify their wicked and evil actions. But guess what? It's not going to matter. When Christ comes back, it's not going to work out well for you. It's not going to work out well for you, oppressors. It's just not. Y'all can make all of these disorders you want. It's just not going to work out well. All right. So now we're going to get into. I'm going to say this one. Ooh, I want that. I'm going to put that on the screen. Let me see. I think this is the next one we're going to show. What time we got? All right, we got a little bit of time. All right, this article came out. What was that? Friday, the 13th. Says leading doctors group on Thursday formally withdrew its approval of a 2009 paper on excited delirium, a document that critics say has been used to justify excessive force by police. The American College of Emergency Physicians, in a statement, called the paper outdated and said the term excited delirium should not be used by members who testify in civil or criminal cases. The group's directors voted on the matter on Thursday in Philadelphia. This means if someone dies while being restrained in custody, people can't point to excited delirium as the reason and can't point to the ACEP or the American College of Emergency Physicians endorsement of the subject to bolster their case. All right. That's interesting, right? That sounds like progress. We can't use this term anymore. It seems to justify excessive force. Well, Let's look at where this term came from. And let's look at some of the history of this term. Yeah. It says on December 23rd, 2020, Quinto Collins called 911 seeking help for her 30-year-old brother, Angelo, who was agitated and exhibiting signs of a mental health crisis at their home in Antioch, California. When two police officers arrived, they pulled Quinto from his mother's arms onto the floor. At least twice, Quinto's mother, Cassandra, heard him say to the officers, "Please don't unalive me." Bella and Cassandra watched in disbelief and horror as the two officers knelt on Quinto's back for 5 minutes until he stopped breathing. 3 days later, he died at the hospital. Says in recent years, others have claimed. That's not what I want to say. Nope. Yep. In recent years, others have claimed. Others, including Manuel Ellis, Zachary Bear Hills, Elijah McClain, Natasha McKenna, and Daniel Prude. Excited delirium even emerged as a defense for the officers who unalived George Floyd in 2020. Now we all know they still got time, but this is a thing that's been around. None of us had heard of it. I hadn't heard of it either. This is a thing that's been around for a while. There's an Austin American Statesman investigation into each non-shooting, I think I could say death, but unaliving of a person in police custody in Texas from 2005 to 2017 found that more than 1 in 6 of these unalivings were attributed to excited delirium. This is a thing. It says in January 2020, Florida Today report found that 85 unalivings attributed to excited delirium by Florida medical examiners since 2010. At least 62% involved the use of force by law enforcement. A Berkeley professor of law and bioethics conducted a search of these two new databases and three others from 2010 to 2010 and found that 166 reported unalivings in police custody uh, from possible excited delirium. So there was 166 unalivings, and they were all referenced as excited delirium. Black people made up 43.3%, and Black and Latinx people together made up 56% of the people that were unalive with excited delirium referenced as a cause. This is a disorder, again, that we are tagged with. Most of us didn't even realize this was a thing. But this is another playbook. This is another play out of their book that allows them to unalive us and say, nope, it's not my fault. So, Lucky, give me 1 second. All right, Salaki. But yes, this is just another tactic. This is another play out of their playbook that allows them to diagnose a people and then respond in any manner they wish. All right. Um, let me see. Just like drapetomania, just like that other disorder, where it was very clear that there was no medical support for it. This review says the review leads to it leads to the conclusion that excited delirium is not a valid, independent medical or psychiatric diagnosis. There is no clear, consistent definition, established etiology, or known underlying pathophysiology. There are no diagnostic standards, and it is not included as a diagnosis in any version of basically any mental health disease or database. None of this is medical at all. This is a current term and disorder that is being used in plenty of police departments, plenty of court cases, so on and so forth. We're going to get into a couple of them. Even here, it says, most significantly, it is disturbing that excited delirium as a diagnosis has been used to justify aggressive and even fatal police tactics. Um, so what is excited delirium? Stuff is horrible. Says the diagnosis of excited delirium has come to rest on racist tropes of black men and other people of color having superhuman strength and being impervious to pain. This is the same thing. This is the same thing. Drapetomania. What was that other term? Let me get it. Locking. Drapetomania and habitude of the mind. This is the same type of diagnosis, impervious to pain and superhuman strength, while pathologizing resistance to law enforcement, which may have been an expected or unsurprising reaction of a scared or ill individual, or anyone who is being restrained in a position that inhibits breathing. Because obviously, we have a heck of a disposition as black Latinos and Native Indians with the police. Because people who present with symptoms and signs such as agitation, confusion, fear, hyperactivity, acute psychosis, sweats, non-compliance with directions, uh, tachycardia, I believe is how you pronounce that, or rapid heart rate is what it is, rapid breathing, which are too often classified by medical examiners and coroners as excited delirium, must be recognized as having an underlying diagnosis. Sure, it could have an underlying diagnosis. You know what else it could be? I'm black and I don't want to be unalived by a cop. So when I come in contact with him, yeah, I might, the average person, sure, it might be a little nervous. We talk about it all the time that, listen, when our sons and daughters become driving age and they out there driving, we have to have a whole speech with them about how to conduct themselves, how to answer questions, how to be assertive, how to make sure you're not stuttering, so on and so forth. Because the whole goal is to get home. The whole goal is to get home safely. So yeah, and even if you're not a child, our adults, because of the reality of our captivity and our oppression. Yeah, you get pulled over, you might be a little nervous. Your heart might be beating a little fast. You might be displaying symptoms of fear and confusion because maybe you don't know why this routine traffic stop seems to be escalating. Maybe you're a little confused as to why. Maybe, hey, okay, I was going a few miles over the speed limit, but why are you so aggressive with me right now? Why are you asking me to get out of the car when I presented all of my information to you? I don't know what's going on. Oh, you starting to emit signs of excited delirium. As my rib said, or PTSD. Right. Maybe you have PTSD from being in Esau's military. Maybe that's the disposition you have. Well, as this is showing us, listen, that's excited delirium, and hey, we gotta. It's not my fault. Well, he was unalive. He had that excited delirium. I was trying to help him. I had to cuff him and put him in that uncomfortable position because he was agitated and confused, and he wasn't complying with my directions. I was trying to help him, and now he's unalive. That doggone excited delirium. That damn Drake the Maniac. This is straight out of the Oppressor's playbook. All right. So let me see. Uh-oh, too fast. Wow. All right. And going with this whole I'm not Drake the Maniac. Excited delirium. So there is strong evidence that deaths after or during interaction with law enforcement are not always appropriately reported, monitored, or investigated. What? Come on. This is one of the things, man. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating because no one believes black people. No one believes black people. No one believes black people. When we say we're being oppressed, when we say these police officers are absolutely targeting us in our neighborhoods, no one believes black people. No one believes it. It's always if you just comply, and again, going back to having no compassion for your people. If you just it was your choice not to follow his orders, so on and so forth. It's horrible when people talk about all the oppression and all the abuse that happens in the black communities, predominantly black communities, or even just with black individuals. Um, and it's always dismissed as, oh, I don't know, we got to see both sides of it. We know what happened before the video. I'm a firm believer that even with George Floyd, if that video did not go on so long that it removed all doubt, it would have been the same thing. It would have been the exact same thing. And as we saw earlier, even then, the defense, it brought up excited delivery as a defense. All right. It says a 2017 Harvard study found that more than half of all police unalivings in 2015 were incorrectly classified as not the result of police officer interactions. Meaning it was some other thing. Again, excited delirium. The same study found that there were significantly more law enforcement related unalivings in the Guardian's data set compared to the NVSS, which is the Guardian's is more objective. The NVSS is the National Vital Statistics System. They further discovered that the NVSS had misclassified 55.2% of all police unalivings, and that deaths in low-income areas were disproportionately underreported. So we talk don't know if that was last class or class before. Either way, we talked about going to the Black History Museum in Richmond and seeing that that um, that flag that was made, where there were 78, I think it was 78 unarmed unalivings of Black and brown people. This is saying 55.2% of all of those were in low income areas and disproportionately underreported, which means even the ones that we're aware of, obviously on that flag, there were so many more that I hadn't heard of, so many more names. But even then, it's disproportionately underreported in our neighborhoods. Um, this is a term though that's been around for a while. This is something. This is a term that was first used in 1985. This is nothing new. It was first used in 85, and then it became to get more popular in 88. Um, by 2005, these trainers for the for police departments wrote a book, gave it away, gave it away to the different departments, all talking about excited delirium, and that's when it became a more mainstream thing to be used in court cases. It became a cause of death or unaliving. So it's no longer that, well, we got a couple examples. Martin Harrison says on August 13, 2010, Martin Harrison was arrested for jaywalking in Oakland, California. A warrant check revealed an outstanding warrant for failing to appear under a DUI. Police arrested Harrison and took him to Alameda, I think it is, County, Santa Rita Jail. During the intake medical screening process, which occurred approximately 3 p.m., Harrison was visibly intoxicated and smelled of alcohol. He told the licensed locational nurse who conducted the intake medical assessment that he drank every day, and his last drink was that day, and that he had a history of experiencing alcohol withdrawal. LVN determined that Harrison needed no medical care and sent him to the jail's general population without instituting any alcohol withdrawal treatment protocols. 3 days later, Harrison experienced severe alcohol withdrawal, delirium, tremens, hallucinating that he was in his apartment holding his mattress over his head, and he perceived that they were trying to shoot. 10 deputies arrived in the Harrison's jail cell, tased him, severely beat him, put a spit hood on him, and forced him into a prone position with the officers on top of him until he was no longer alive. Alcohol withdrawal and delirium tremens are considered treatable by medical professionals, yet no medical management was offered at any point during the Harrison stay, including a response to the deterioration of his medical condition. So let me see. The defendants hired because this case came out of this, right? So the defendants hired it says the Mile and Wetley. So Wetley is the cat that first turned excited delirium, and DeMaio was the cat that started the training and sold all these books. So these are the two experts on excited delirium. So in 2014, Dio and Wetley gave sworn testimony so like his sworn deposition testimony in the Harrison case. There was no dispute between the parties that Harrison was experiencing delirium tremens, which, unlike excited delirium, has an international classification of disease code. At the time, he was severely beaten, tased, and restrained. Yet Wetley testified in his disposition that Harrison passed away of excited delirium and is a classic example of death due to excited delirium or the resuscitation that has taken place. DeMaio testified that Harrison's presentation is of somebody in excited delirium, and you could argue that Harrison's unaliving was a pure excited delirium case. They beat this brother, tased him after 3 days of not treating a medical withdrawal, cuffed him, and then put their weight on his body until he no longer could breathe. And then you had two individuals say, yep, that's excited delirium. They hold themselves not guilty for anything. Our destruction is what their playbook goes for. They're not guilty. It's our fault. Now, despite their assertions regarding excited delirium, DeMaio and Wetley's depositions confirm these facts. Excited delirium has no international classification of diseases, which means it cannot be assigned as a diagnosis or as a cause of unaliving for statistical purposes. You can't even use this. But they get on the stand and say, yep, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Does Drapetomania have any ties to the medical industry? Nope. They don't even know what it is, but that we know. That's exactly what it is. Excited delirium has never appeared in any version of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, and the main diagnostic tool for mental health problems used by physicians and mental health disorders in the United States, which is now in its 5th edition. So the main tool, Slacky, that mental health providers use in America is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. This disorder, excited delirium, does not appear in there because it's not real. That's what this means. It's not a real disorder. Everybody knows it. The oppressors know it. But guess what? I'll get up on the stand. Yep, that's a clear case of excited delirium. Same play out of the same playbook. Excited delirium is not recognized by the American Medical Association, American Psychiatric Association, or the American Psychological Association. Not recognized by anything other than forensic scientists and things like that when they need someone to come testify. When they need someone to come testify about an inmate or someone who's in their custody is unaliving, then you know what? It was excited delirium. It wasn't me. It wasn't the fact that we beat him and tortured him and tased him and asphyxiated him. That wasn't it. It was excited delirium. It was excited delirium. Here's another. This exciting delirium is also frequently asserted as a defense by police officers who unalive people during the course of restraint, with notable exceptions such as the unaliving prosecutions of Minneapolis police officers in the George Floyd case. Law enforcement officers are usually not criminally prosecuted for restraint-related unalivings, and they frequently deploy the excited delirium causation defense in civil lawsuits brought against the decedent's families. This is their get out of jail free card. Now, the first article just talked about how there was a medical group just saying, hey, we no longer, rock with this. Y'all need to really stop using it. That was the first article. That doesn't mean that they're going to do it. They're going to continue to use this. They're absolutely going to continue to use it. This gives them the ability to put the unaliving responsibility on the person whose life has been taken away. And it absolutely alleviates the responsibility of the oppressor. Just like drapetomania, just like herbitude, whatever that was, that other disorder. All right, we coming up on time. Coming up on time. There was one more. Let me see. Yeah, we're gonna get into this one more. Elijah McClain. Actually, there's a couple more. We're gonna get into this one and we're gonna call it. On August 24th, 2019, 23-year-old Elijah McClain was walking home from the convenience store in Aurora, Colorado when he was unlawfully arrested, beaten, and placed in a chokehold. When paramedics arrived, they diagnosed him with excited delirium. When the paramedics arrived, they diagnosed him with excited delirium and injected him with ketamine, I believe is how you pronounce that, an anesthetic that can be fatal in an amount indicated for someone almost twice his weight. Mr. Lucky. Almost twice his weight. Says McClain went into cardiac arrest in the ambulance on the way to the hospital and died 4 days later. A forensic pathologist ruled that his death was undetermined but may have been the result of excited delirium. This is happening now. Drapetomania is old. Drapetomania was 1850s. That other disorder was 1850s. We thought it was, you could talk about it now. Like, this is crazy. It doesn't even make sense. How is it that they were able to just label these disorders? This is how. This is how. This is something that is happening right now. There was another case, I think, in 2020. Same deal. Right after COVID hit. Right after COVID hit. Brother had mental problems. Was out walking around with absolutely nothing on. Completely out of, he was out of it. His brother knew that he had a mental disorder. He couldn't find him. He goes out to try to find him. I forgot where they were, but he gets stopped by a police officer and told he needs to go home because this COVID quarantine. They eventually find his brother, and one of the things he told the officers was like, listen, he doesn't have any clothes on. He doesn't have any weapons. He's not a threat. Please don't unalive my brother. And that night was the last time he heard his brother's voice. And this excited delirium alleviates all responsibility from our oppressors, just like drapetomania. With that, I'm getting to the security announcements. Let's see. All right. We had the ISUPK start out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commander General Yohana. Rule for new brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes to the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to that brother or sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother or sister will court each other. After this 6 month period, the brother or sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. You can find it in Numbers 18th chapter, verse 21, or Malachi chapter 3, verses 8 through 10. It means tenth in the Hebrew, or ma'ashara, 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you. You can give it to the Treasury Department. You can also go to isupk.com and pay through PayPal, right? You have your records and everything. Priest fund is a free will offering for the priest. It's not mandatory, just whatsoever amount you would like to give. Upcoming high holy days, so like your holy convocation days. Let me get that. Is this the one? Nope. There it is. The next Holy Convocation Day is the Feast of Dedication or Hanukkah, and that will be. I thought I had a different date last time. No, that's the wrong day. Salaki. Salaki. Is that it? That's not it either. Gotta get that. Oh, Salaki. Always got me. The water. December 7th. I thought that's what it was. I tried to confirm it, and all the information I got in my dates were wrong. The water, brother. All right. Let me see. Get back, get back. I think after that, yes. And if any brother wants to be a trooper in the school, needs to be in all black. That's black pants, boots, shirt, headband, war scarf. You need to make sure you get into contact with the school in your area. For Virginia, that's going to be Captain Natzak and Shaw, Officer Rashomai. Let them know that that's what you want to do, and they will get you straight. All right. And with that, I'm going to say, give a courtesy, like a courtesy salute. Shalom, how about Shem Shabrak a thumb to the brothers? Yahweh Shemal a thumb by Shem Yahweh Shah to the sisters. Shalom, Israel.